2015, Oscar night. American Sniper is nominated in 6 categories, including Best Picture. Stars walk the red carpet, but this night is different. There's tension in the air, because American Sniper isn't just a film. American Sniper is a war, a culture war, a war that divided America in two. On one side, this film tells the story of a hero. Chris Kyle protected America. Eastwood gave him the respect he deserved. On the other side, this film is war propaganda. Chris Kyle was a killer. Eastwood glorified American militarism by celebrating him. 2 Americas, 2 views, 1 film. And in the middle, an 84-year-old director, Clint Eastwood. Eastwood is silent as always. He doesn't join the debates, makes no statements. He says, let the film speak for itself. But the film speaks a lot, and America listens. $547 million, the highest grossing war film in American box office history. How did this happen, and why is it so controversial? I need to tell the story. Chris Kyle, a cowboy raised in Texas, rodeo champion, then became a Navy SEAL, went to Iraq. Kyle's story was the classic American story. He grew up in a small town. His father taught him hunting. He grew up with guns. In Texas, this was normal. He wanted to be a cowboy, competed in rodeo, tried to train bulls. He was going to spend his life on a ranch. Then one day, he saw the news on TV, the 1998 bombings of American embassies in Kenya and Tanzania. Hundreds dead. Kyle decided that day he would protect his country. He wanted to become a Navy SEAL, the toughest, most selective, most lethal unit. He applied, was accepted. Went through BUD/S training, one of the world's most grueling military programs. And September 11th, 2001 came. When the Twin Towers fell, Kyle was ready. He wanted to go to war. 4 months later, he was in Iraq, and there he became legend. 160 confirmed kills, the most successful sniper in American military history. In Iraq, they called him the Devil. An $80,000 bounty was put on his head in Ramadi. Americans called him the Legend. In 2012, Kyle wrote a book, an autobiography called American Sniper. It hit the New York Times bestseller list. Stayed there for months. Hollywood was interested. Multiple producers wanted the book rights. Multiple directors wanted to make it into a film. Steven Spielberg was even attached to the project for a while. But the project wasn't moving forward. The problem was, Kyle's story was complicated. Kyle was a hero, but he'd also made controversial claims. He claimed he shot looters during Hurricane Katrina, never proven. He said he beat up Jesse Ventura in a bar. A court ruled it was a lie. Kyle wasn't a simple hero. Kyle was a complex, contradictory, perhaps unreliable narrator. Hollywood didn't know what to do with this complexity. And then tragedy struck. 2013. Chris Kyle was killed by a PTSD sufferer. Kyle was trying to help soldiers returning from war. He took them to shooting ranges as therapy. That day he was helping a veteran named Eddie Ray Ruth. Routh turned the gun on Kyle and fired. Kyle died at 38 years old. He left behind a wife and 2 children. America was shocked. An American hero, killed in his own country by a man he was trying to help. The irony was bitter, and the story was no longer just a war story. It was a story about war coming home. This is where Clint Eastwood came in. Eastwood had known about Kyle's story for years. He'd read the book. He was interested but not committed. Actually, Eastwood had avoided contemporary war films. He'd made Letters from Iwo Jima and Flags of Our Fathers. But those were historical films. Current war? That was different. That was political minefield. Kyle's death changed everything. Eastwood watched Kyle's funeral on television. Thousands of people gathered in a stadium. Soldiers, civilians, families. America's heart was broken. And Eastwood realized something. This wasn't just one soldier's story. This was the story of every soldier who went to war. The story of those who couldn't come home. The story of those who came home but didn't really come back. "We need to tell this story," Eastwood said. "Not just a war story. The story of what war does to people." Eastwood had no war experience himself. He'd been drafted during the Korean War, but didn't see combat. He was a swimming instructor at Fort Ord. But he knew the effects of war. His father was from the World War II generation. There were always veterans around him, those silent, withdrawn, trauma-carrying men. Kyle was like that too, and Eastwood wanted to understand him. Warner Brothers immediately agreed. Eastwood's recent films had been successful, and this project had huge potential. The budget was set at $60 million, mid-range for a war film, but enough with Eastwood's efficient working style. Now the question was, who would play Chris Kyle? Bradley Cooper. Cooper was a rising star at the time. He'd been Oscar-nominated for Silver Linings Playbook. Handsome, charismatic, but also an actor with depth. Cooper went to Kyle's family. He met Taya Kyle, Chris's widow. Spent hours, listened to stories, watched video recordings. He met with Chris's SEAL friends, listened to what happened in Iraq, learned the real face of war, and then the transformation began. Cooper gained 40 pounds, muscle mass. He needed to look like a SEAL. He woke at 5 a.m. to lift weights, followed a protein diet. His body changed. He worked on the Texas accent. He copied Kyle's walk, his posture, his gaze, watched hours of video, studied Kyle's hand movements, his laugh, his silence. And perhaps hardest, he tried to understand Kyle's dark side. This man had killed 160 people. What does that feel like? How do you sleep at night? How do you look in the mirror? Cooper carried these questions and brought them to the screen. The result was surprising. Cooper had become Kyle on screen. But there was a problem. The baby scene. The film's most mocked scene. Kyle at home, with his wife, with their newborn baby. But the baby is obviously fake, a plastic baby, and it's very obvious. The internet went crazy. Memes spread. American Sniper's biggest enemy, fake baby. What had happened? The real baby had gotten sick. The backup baby didn't show up either. Eastwood, as always, didn't want to stop. "Shoot with the plastic baby," he said. Another director would have reshot the scene. Eastwood didn't. This decision was criticized. "Eastwood doesn't care anymore," they said. "He's not paying attention to details," they said. But the film still worked. The plastic baby became a meme, yes. But it didn't diminish the film's power. Maybe this was Eastwood's strength. Not perfectionism, but capturing the essence. Taya Kyle said later, "Sometimes watching Bradley, I saw Chris. It was eerie but beautiful." Filming began in spring 2014, in Morocco and Los Angeles. Eastwood worked as always. Fast, efficient, few takes. But this film was different. This film would show war, real war. The streets of Iraq, snipers waiting on rooftops, door-kicking raids, death. Eastwood didn't aestheticize war, didn't beautify it, didn't glorify it. War looked ugly, chaotic, terrifying, exactly as it should. One scene became particularly controversial. Kyle's first kill. A woman and a child. The woman gives the child a bomb. The child runs toward American soldiers. Kyle watches through his scope. finger on the trigger. Eastwood shot this scene long, uncomfortably long. The audience waits with Kyle, sweats, lives the moment of decision. Kyle fires, first at the woman, then at the child. In theaters, people held their breath. Some cried, some left the auditorium. This scene set the film's tone. This war wasn't a game. This war wasn't a shoot the bad guys, be a hero story. This war was tearing people apart, both those who killed and those who died. Eastwood did something else that was very effective. He gave Kyle's enemy a face, a Syrian sniper named Mustafa, an Olympic marksman, as dangerous as Kyle, as skilled as Kyle. Throughout the film, Kyle and Mustafa hunt each other. 2 snipers, 2 scopes, 2 fingers on triggers. This was Hollywood cliché, perhaps, but it worked. It personalized the war. It put a human face instead of an abstract enemy. In the real Kyle's book, Mustafa wasn't this important. Eastwood enlarged the character to increase drama. Some critics criticized this. He's distorting facts, they said. Eastwood didn't care. This isn't a documentary, he said. This is a film, and films tell stories. The film told the story of Kyle's 4 tours in Iraq. With each tour, Kyle changed a little more, got a little harder, got a little more distant. In the first tour, there was an idealistic soldier. I'll stop the bad guys. I'll protect the good guys. In the last tour, there was a man with empty eyes who couldn't recognize his wife, who couldn't connect with his children. War had swallowed him. This transformation was the heart of the film. And here Eastwood did something masterful. He didn't show Kyle as a simple hero, but he didn't show him as a simple monster either. Kyle was a complex human being, a person who believed in his country, did his duty, but paid the price for that duty. In one scene, Kyle watches a child through his scope. The child has a bomb in his hand. He's running toward American soldiers. Kyle's choice: fire and kill the child, or don't fire and your friends die. Kyle fires. This scene challenges the viewer, makes them uncomfortable, doesn't give easy answers. And that was Eastwood's intention, to show the complexity of war, to question easy judgments, but not everyone saw it that way. The film had a limited release in December 2014, to qualify for Oscar season. Initial reactions were positive. Critics praised Cooper's performance, praised Eastwood's direction. Then it went wide in January 2015, and the explosion happened. First weekend, $90 million. January record. R-rated film record. War film record. America was flooding into theaters. But why? Because the film had touched something. America's open wound. The Iraq War was over, but the wounds hadn't healed. Thousands of American soldiers had died. Tens of thousands were living with PTSD, and America was still asking, was this war right? American Sniper didn't answer this question, but it made the question concrete, through Chris Kyle, and people reacted. The right claimed the film. Finally, Hollywood respected our soldiers, they said. Chris Kyle is a hero. This film is the monument he deserved. Fox News praised the film for days. Republican politicians tweeted. Military families cried in theaters. The film became one of the cultural symbols of pre-Trump America. But the left reacted differently. Michael Moore tweeted, "My dad taught me that snipers were cowards. They shoot people in the back." Moore later apologized, but the damage was done. The debate was inflamed. Other critics joined. This film dehumanizes Iraqis, they said. All Iraqis are either terrorists or victims. No normal people. The film doesn't question the war, they said. doesn't discuss the reasons for war, just says, support our troops. This is propaganda, they said. Pentagon propaganda. We wouldn't expect this from Eastwood. The debate heated up. War broke out on social media. The hashtag American Sniper hashtag trended for days. People called each other traitor and war criminal supporter. A film had divided America in two. What did Eastwood do? Nothing. He stayed silent, gave no interviews, didn't tweet, didn't join the debate. He made only one statement. I made an anti-war film. Anyone who watches carefully can see that. This statement satisfied no one. The right was surprised. Anti-war? This is a heroism film. The left didn't believe it. Anti-war? Then why doesn't it question the reasons for war? Eastwood didn't care. The film kept exploding at the box office. $350 million in America, $197 million overseas. Total $547 million. It had become the highest-grossing war film in American history. It passed Saving Private Ryan. It passed Dunkirk. It passed them all. At 84 years old, Eastwood was experiencing the biggest commercial success of his career. But the Oscar night came. American Sniper was nominated in 6 categories: Best Picture, Best Actor, Cooper, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Film Editing, Best Sound Editing, Best Sound Mixing. Results: just one award. Sound Editing. Best Picture went to Birdman. Cooper lost. Eastwood hadn't even been nominated for directing. Was this a message? Some thought so. Hollywood punished Eastwood, they said. The film was found too conservative. The Academy liberals wouldn't forgive. Was it really like that? Maybe. Or maybe Birdman was just a better film. We don't know, but it didn't matter to Eastwood. I don't make films for Oscars, he said. I make them for people. And people watch this film. $500 million worth of people. This attitude summarized Eastwood. So what did the film really say? The answer to this question depends on perspective. If you look from the right, the film shows the sacrifice of American soldiers. Kyle died for his country, metaphorically in Iraq, literally in Texas. This deserves respect. If you look from the left, the film shows how war breaks people. When Kyle came home, he was half a person, and he was ultimately killed by a PTSD victim. War doesn't save anyone. If you look from the middle, the film is open to both interpretations, and maybe that was Eastwood's intention. Eastwood did this throughout his career. In Unforgiven, he both glorifies and questions violence. In Gran Torino, he both shows and critiques racism. In American Sniper, he both tells and questions war. Eastwood doesn't give easy answers. He leaves room for the audience to think. This bothers some people. Take a clear stance, they say. Eastwood doesn't. He refuses to. And maybe that's the power of art. Not answering questions, but asking them. After the film left theaters, the debates slowed down. But the effects remained. Kyle's family made millions from the film. Taya Kyle continues to manage her husband's legacy. Eddie Ray Ruth, Kyle's killer, received a life sentence. His insanity defense was rejected, and thousands of American veterans watched the film and saw their own experiences. For some, it was therapeutic. For some, it was traumatic. The film started a conversation about PTSD, about veteran care, about the invisible wounds of war. In America, more than 6,000 veterans commit suicide every year, an average of 17 people per day. This is more than those who die in war. Kyle was also fighting PTSD. When he came home, he couldn't recognize his wife. He couldn't bond with his children. He had nightmares at night. He was on edge during the day. The film showed this. Kyle's homecoming scenes were harder to watch than the war scenes. In one scene, Kyle sits in the garage. His wife calls him. Kyle doesn't hear. He's somewhere else, in another time, still in Iraq. This scene was familiar to thousands of veteran families. "This is my husband," they said. "This is my father," they said. "This is my son," they said. The film held up a mirror, and America saw itself. This conversation continues. After American Sniper, Eastwood made 4 more films. Sully, The 1517 to Paris, The Mule, Richard Jewell, Cry Macho, Juror Number 2. All different stories, but they all have something in common. Ordinary people facing extraordinary situations. Kyle was like that too. A cowboy from Texas. He faced an extraordinary war and became both hero and victim. This is the American story, and Eastwood told it. Did he tell it right? Did he tell it wrong? Did he tell it incomplete? Did he tell too much? Everyone's answer is different, but one thing is certain. Eastwood made people think, made them talk, made them argue. And maybe that's the job of art, not to answer, to ask. Chris Kyle died in 2013. At 38 years old, Clint Eastwood is still alive in 2024. At 94 years old. One became legend in war and died in peace. The other told the war and stayed silent amid the debates. 2 American stories. An American Sniper is where they intersect. Controversial? Yes. Disturbing? Yes. Important? Absolutely. Because stories that aren't easy are the stories that need to be told. And Eastwood knows this. Even at 84 years old. Perhaps especially at 84 years old.